Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome into Infection Podcast. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on X at Nicholas M. Craig, or check out our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Joining me, as always, on this busy Thanksgiving week, Brian with an I Aldridge. What's going on, buddy?
Not too much. Of course, if you want to find me, you can find me at Boise Computer on X or at Brian Aldridge and Gab Getter, True Social, other places that are making comebacks. So we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Speaking, Brian, of making a comeback.
Yes.
There was some news in the influencer space, we'll call it, this week.
Yes.
There's a man that has been a guest on this program before for longtime viewers of the Infectio podcast are familiar with a show that we did back, oh man, what is the date on this? Back in 2016, this gentleman graced us with his presence. And that is the Dr. Disrespect. He was banned from Twitch for trying to sleep with allegedly a 16-year-old at TwitchCon. I mean, that's what this boiled down to.
I don't know if that was it, or they just said that there were messages exchanged. But it was
about
what the messages were.
Well, we don't, but from all accounts, it appeared that it was related to something some sort of meetup, some sort of event, TwitchCon event. And the idea that as a grown married man with children, you would believe it's appropriate to be messaging and messaging at all, irregardless of whether you're trying to sleep with them or not. Is beyond a bad situation. So he was gone from Twitch for a while. Then he came on YouTube Gaming. They signed him exclusively. And was he still streaming there up until late, or has he been gone from that for a while? Because I don't.
Because I get notices of when he does his streams. So he has been streaming.
Okay, so he's still.
I don't remember if something happened and they killed his ability to take subs or something. I think something happened prior to this in the last however many months, and where he wasn't able to have subs anymore or something like that. And then of course, this was something that was announced. Was it yesterday?
Yes, yesterday.
So yesterday that he is going to be pretty much heading this Rumble Gaming. I mean, it's something that there's been talks of Rumble really building up, but this, he's got a huge audience still. I mean, there's still a lot of people who follow him.
He's getting 500,000. Streams. He's getting 500,000 plus views on his live streams on YouTube. I mean, that's a significant audience.
Yeah. So I think that now Rumble has really started to work on kind of polishing their platform. I didn't like using it before because it seems like it was so buggy.
It still sucks. It's still a terrible platform.
But it's not as bad as, because I remember taking a long break from messing around with it and coming back. When I first started trying it, it seemed like videos would lag, pause, not load properly. Search wasn't really that smart.
Search is still an issue.
Yeah, I think that they're improving some of the, kind of making it more smooth, because that's the thing about YouTube, is it's smooth. Yeah. You can jump from video to video. The flow is nice. They're trying to create a situation like that.
Now,
that's still going to be more work for them because YouTube's been around for quite a while and has had a lot of money to pump into that system.
No question about that. We have been uploading our show to Rumble for close to a year now, maybe more than a year. It's somewhere in that time frame. Every once in a while they have an issue when I go and upload and the show doesn't make it up there. But we're throwing our stuff up there. So if you are going to be signing up for Rumble, make sure you search for Infection Podcast and check us out over there. Should we do you want me to play through the audio of his video here? Do you want to take a listen to it?
Yeah, I think that'll be fine. I don't think we'll have any issues with strike, at least not
high velocity, Brian. Firm handshakes, and especially if you're 16.
From the ashes of the old rises the new. A movement. A force. And you'll know exactly who's in charge. The two-time What's coming next isn't just a chapter, it's a new book. And trust me, you won't want to miss a single word. This isn't just a move, it's a revolution. Welcome to Rumble.
Whoa. How did that happen? I don't know what that is. Whoops, let me get that off the screen. Oh, sorry about that. So big deal. Rumble is trying their damnedest to compete in this space. It's tough. It's an expensive space to compete in. Brian, can I tell you my biggest issue with Rumble? It's the ads. If ivermectin pills, gold scams, like it's just that's been my biggest issue with the platform.
We'll turn that around, right?
But I'm going to argue that
to bring in big advertisers with the big money, you got to have people that they feel are worth putting money into.
Dan Bongino is live on Rumble with his show.
He's one of the biggest ones.
He is the top live stream every single day in the world with his Rumble show. So, yes. I obviously you have to have the audience to suffice the advertisers. I totally understand that. But to me, that's. And you might say that's a stupid issue and that, who cares? But I think that does matter when you're trying to bring over. Let's be honest about this. The reason they're paying Dr. Disrespect $20 million is, by the way, we don't know the length of the contract, but why they're paying him $20 million, which is what Jake Paul and Mike Tyson got for their boxing match that fiasco that took place a couple weeks ago on Netflix. The reason they're paying him $20 million is to bring normies to the platform. And that's an accurate word to use. Brian and I, many of you listening to this, we are probably already Rumble users or familiar with Rumble or watch content on Rumble. They don't need to bring us to the platform. They are paying $20 million to convert normal, regular people to Rumble. And I can tell you...
Not an echo chamber, right?
It's a right-wing echo chamber, which is essentially all it is, right?
That's the biggest issue. And I know that, so it's like liberals try to get that echo chamber.
I mean, look,
it seems like we try not to. And it's just like, it's like, come over here because we want to have something where we have an equal voice to other people. I think that's the biggest concern. We don't get that on YouTube. I mean, there's things that if I said it, like I could say one sentence on here that's proven true, and it would get our video banned on YouTube for no reason. Totally accurate information. Right, and
so you just look at this content though. As I scroll through it, it's Tucker Carlson, it's Don Jr., it's Dan Bongino, it's Charlie Kirk, it's Steven Crowder. Yes, these guys are very popular, and I guess
I want more of a mix though, right?
That's 100%.
If you're going to be throwing me videos, show me some things that are a little different than what. Because that I agree with you 100%. The biggest downside, and that's where I started going through actually yesterday and trying to add more names, kind of, more diversity to my list of follows on there. So I start getting better. So I get better results. And I think that's what's going to take. Start bringing normie channels to the service so that everything that I see isn't political, because I'd like to see something else. That's what I like about YouTube sometimes now. Is not everything I see on YouTube is political. There's history stuff. I want all that, there's conspiracy stuff, all those things. I want to see that, mix it all in, and they just need to get better at that algorithm.
This is the third most trending category on live stream on Rumble. It is called conspiracies. And of course, the top channel is InfoWars.
Yeah.
Some guy talking about the Freemasons. and then a couple... Trump to subdue deranged opposition, arrests planned. It's just some 24-hour psyop live stream. I mean, like this is I don't even
Go
think
until
I have
the crack's gone is more like it.
Yeah, I don't have the. I don't think I have we have the Infection Podcast Rumble account. I don't think I have a Rumble account, so I probably need to make one.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought that up about YouTube. You will probably be surprised by this. There is not any political content that I actually watch on YouTube. Yeah. Nothing. There is not a single political show that I listen to on YouTube, unless you consider my own show that I live stream, that I check and make sure looks fine and all of that. Everything I watch is tech and a little bit of gaming. and like history and stuff like that. I've been watching this guy. I don't know the name of his channel, but he has these like long form documentaries about like stores and companies that were the highest of the highs and then they close. That's all I watch. I don't watch any political content.
See, that's the stuff that's missing from Rumble.
Because there's
like
no
those
incentive.
Random videos.
Yeah, but there's no. So here's the thing, though. So unless you're talking about a major company, we'll use Linus Tech Tip as an example. Mm-hmm. They could easily duplicate their content on Rumble if they wanted to. They're not going to. They not only have YouTube, in which they pull millions of views down per video, they have their own platform called Floatplane, which is what was that service that Verizon bought that all those YouTubers went to? Remember, you could pay like $5 a month, and it was like you get content early. Don't remember the name of the platform. Brian's gonna help me out. They put their content there. The question is for these not smaller content creators, but what we'll call mid-sized content creators. Is there a benefit of putting content on Rumble? And at this point in time, I believe the answer is no.
Yeah.
That's just right now. I think the answer is no. Will it be yes at some point? Probably, but it's not right now. And so that's why, going to our homepage, which I will note, I don't use our Rumble account. I literally log into it once a week on Tuesdays or Wednesdays or Mondays, and I upload our show, and that's it. I don't use our Rumble account. And this is what it's recommending for me. Black Pilled, obviously that's political. Nightwave Radio, I assume that's got to be political. These are all political shows. It's like this is all they've got. I mean, Glenn Green, and again, you got to promote these popular guys. I understand that. I have been watching some InfoWars on our channel. I guess I'll have to admit that. But it's cool to see that Barstool's on there. I mean, that brings in a group of normies. They've been on there for a while. So there is some of that stuff on here, but it's just not there. For example, we can't even stream to Rumble with Restream. And I'm not paying $16. I'm not paying $16 a month for custom RTMP. It's just not worth it. Can't justify it. So
was it?
I don't know.
Was it Verizon Video? Was that what it was called?
That's not what it was called. That's who bought it. I don't remember what it was called.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember what it was before that. Real Networks or something was.
No,
I think it was Real Networks who ran it. So
maybe.
I don't remember.
Let's ask ChatGPT. See if it knows.
Oh yeah, that's true. See, mine's tied to my work, so I don't type random questions. They offer to make it so your ChatGPT can be your search engine for your browser. Probably not a wise idea if you're.
No, probably not.
Now, I found one. While you're finding that, there's one thing I found interesting because I went to go find an article on the Dr. Disrespect's move to Rumble. Found one on PC. Well, first I couldn't find one at all.
That's what it was called. Vessel. Vessel. Yeah. 2016.
So I went and looked on their homepage in the news to see if there's any mention of Dr. Disrespect going to Rumble. Nowhere on the page.
You looked at where for this? I lost that part.
PC Gamer. So I was trying to find news about the Rumble deal.
Yeah.
Went and searched, and so if you look, I put a little link to
your screenshot results. Yeah, hold on.
And so that was when I searched for just Dr. Disrespect. And this article, so I did find an article, but I had to use a search engine to get around and find it outside of their page.
Interesting.
They have blacklisted since at least July 31st, so maybe it's after a certain date. They blacklisted their articles from being found in search. I even did date range and said in the last week or whatever, and it didn't bring me back any results.
That's bizarre.
So Dr. Disrespect, try it without the dot. This is how they type it.
I'm gonna try it with.
You can try both ways.
Yeah, because it should find both. Yeah.
See, July 31st. That's the latest one.
Crazy.
They refuse to have it searchable, but they do have an article that they put out, and it says Dr. Disrespect moves to Rumble with heads up.
What a bunch of bullshit.
You know what I'm saying? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
A supposedly news organization refuses to make an article that they wrote searchable because they don't want they want to have record that they wrote it, but they don't want people reading it. Isn't that the craziest thing you've ever heard?
It's pretty nuts. I'm trying to view the. I want to see
page source.
Yeah, I want to see the tags on the.
Yeah, see if there's a way that
there is. Look at this. It's right here. Tags, Dr. Disrespect. So it's absolute. So it's got everything to do with the fact that I guarantee you it's not a Dr. Disrespect thing. It's everything to do with Rumble. I guarantee you their search algorithm does not work for Rumble.
So you think that they blocked?
Let's see. This will tell us. This will tell us pretty quickly whether there's. Oh, interesting.
See, if you can find it, you can't find it through Dr. Disrespect tag. You can only find it through the Rumble tag.
That's
they blacklisted
really
Dr. Disrespect search, the term, ever since July 31st.
That's so weird.
Isn't that insane? Dr. Disrespect's right there. You could search, just like I did, Dr. Disrespect without a dot, just like it's in there. You looked at the code and you saw the tag, Dr. Disrespect without a dot. You cannot search for that and find that article.
That's
July
nuts.
31st. They blacklisted their own article from search so people could not go and read it. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen from a news site. They're hiding their own content so you can't read it.
Yeah, when you click date range this week, nothing comes up because there hasn't
nothing
it
for
says
Dr. Disrespect.
It says that it hasn't been published. Yeah, damn, that's bizarre, Brian. Get the pipe and the Sherlock Holmes hat out here. We've got Detective Brian on the case. That just goes to show you these organizations are completely illegitimate. I mean, that's really what this comes. And it's a shame because out of all of them, it pains me to say this, but PC Gamers
was one
probably
of
the best.
Not as bad, right?
Yeah, not as bad.
They're doing it. The best of the worst, or the
best of the worst,
right? Is that what
100%. Yeah,
yeah, and they're blocking it. And there's some have refused to even do a single article on it. Like there's 3 or 4 that haven't even mentioned it. I'm trying to remember what a couple of them are, but yeah,
tell you what, man,
they won't even talk about them.
But this is hilarious though. So I'm doing a Bing user, of course, doing a Bing search, and look at what the second article is. It's the PC Gamer article. So
you can't search it on their own site. But
I understand, but they're obviously allowing crawlers, in this case MSN, to crawl their site and pull the content. So that's absolutely something internal they're doing with their search.
Yeah, I just think they're still putting it out there.
There's only one other thing.
Users of their site seeing it.
There's only one. When did 3 hours ago? Unless their search is like not
maybe they
live,
have to run a queue.
And it's archived.
Yeah, maybe they have to compile it or something.
But see, this is interesting too. I just searched Cyberpunk, and it doesn't. The first article it's showing me is 2023.
Just can we do this week without any?
I can't even click this week.
Maybe their search is just the worst.
That's same difference.
I mean, if you can't, you searched Rumble and it found it. That's the crazy thing. So
you're right. You're right. Because I did search Rumble. Yeah.
And it was there. So it's got to be them. They're highly filtering. Why would you filter search results? Why would you block search results on your internal search engine? Like, why would you bother? Why would you waste the time doing that? If you don't like the article, why wouldn't you delete it altogether or
just not
take it
run the
offline
news
so it's not viewable?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
it's so odd to me that they would do that to themselves.
Everybody else is running with it, so they don't need to.
I feel like they just wanted to have an article so that it showed that they covered it.
Well,
but they don't want people to see it.
And it got syndicated by MSN, so props to them.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a super long article. Probably it's half AI written, but still, why would I just don't understand why they would hide this. But this is big news, and I think that this is a sign towards the changing, I guess, views. One thing I keep hearing is that a lot of companies are starting to dial back DEI efforts. And I think I got a list of them here because I went to Grok where I can actually get this information without it being filtered for me and curated by certain companies. Ford Motor Company has adjusted their DEI policies amid a changing legal and political environment. Personally, I think this is wise. I think that they're going to start finding that DEI can be considered racist. And I think that there will be plenty of lawsuits brought against universities, companies that turn down a person because of their skin color, or maybe because, whatever reason you can fill in there. But I think that's coming back at them. Toyota Motor Company has reported to scale back its DEI initiatives. Lowe's has announced changes to its DEI commitments, including not participating in the Human Rights Campaign's Corporate Equality Index and consolidating internal support resources. Harley Davidson has rolled back some DEI programming, potentially in response to backlash.
They got a huge amount of backlash when they did that.
Yeah, same thing with Tractor Supply Company. I mean, we have some of those here. They went all DEI. They explicitly stated that its intention is to eliminate DEI roles and retire current DEI goals, focusing instead on community values. John Deere ended support for social and cultural awareness events as part of its DEI efforts. Walmart has also been noted to roll back DEI policies amidst conservative backlash. Now, Jaguar, on the other hand, I don't know if you want to play this.
I don't know if the audio is copyrighted. I'll run it in the background.
Yeah,
the car company you're talking about, just to make sure.
Here's a car company, Jaguar. This is their response to to the change in climate. I guess is double down. Is what I'm seeing here. What this has to do with cars, I have no idea.
It's promoting an electric vehicle.
Yeah, but okay. So they're going to copy Elon Musk and make an electric vehicle, or what? How are they going to be different?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the reality. You look at a company like Jaguar. That is not a car that most people are affording or attempting to afford or purchasing. This is something that is led up. That this is something that is only available to the upper echelon, which of course is fine because they can just placate to
it's probably not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt their bottom line too much. Now, Disney, it's kind of harder to follow and track their changes.
Yeah, they're all over.
But I had two examples. So there was a Marvel Moon Girl show that had an episode about trans athletes, and they pulled that. So it was a Marvel Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur episode. I haven't seen it.
I don't know what that is, but okay.
But yeah, so it was one that they made over a trans athlete, and they ended up pulling that. Same thing with the
a dude hitting a volleyball into some prepubescent girl's head and giving her a concussion and permanent neck damage and headaches and all that stuff. Was that the episode? Because that's what happens in real life.
I don't think. Yeah, I think they showed the other version. The one.
Gotcha. Okay. I didn't know if we were talking about things that actually happen or some made up liberal thing that they pretend happens.
Well, and this has had to have been happening for a while because Inside Out 2 has been out for at least 6 months. I think it came out either at the beginning of this year. I don't remember. Maybe late last year.
I don't know what that is. But is that a movie?
Inside Out 2.
TV show?
It's an animated movie. Inside Out. Remember, it was about the girls' feelings and their different elements with colors. You never saw that? Okay, that's a good movie. Okay. Everybody was thinking it was going to take a big turn to where she's lesbian, and this is a girl that's in grade school through part of starting to go through puberty.
Oh, perfect age to indoctrinate.
To start discussing. Yeah, and so they were starting. People were really concerned that they were going to go with the whole she's a lesbian story. She has a crush on another girl at school. So a former Pixar employee says the Inside Out 2 team was specifically ordered by Disney leadership to make protagonist Riley Anderson come across as less gay, because that was the way that they were planning on going, was her having this big thing where her big secret was that she liked a girl and blah, 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 right? I think they saw the changing of the tides and cut that out, luckily early, because it would have totally changed the direction of the movie and made it a lot less innocent. I want something that I don't have to explain to a 5-year-old what they're talking about. They don't need to add those things. If this is a movie that's made for kids, tailor it towards kids, not towards adults. Because when you start adding sex in there, are you tailoring it towards kids or adults? And if you're tailoring it towards kids, then you've got some issues. That's a problem. So I just, with this, maybe within these other companies, taking a stand. People can no longer say that most people feel this way because over 50% of the electorate voted, a majority voted, and that was always their complaint. So what are they going to say? We are not the minority when it comes to this thought. We are the majority. We'll see what happens. I guess we can say, well, let's see what happens next year, because I think there's going to be a definite change in expectations, laws. I don't think DEI will be allowed. I think that's going to go before the courts and be deemed as unconstitutional.
So I don't think that this is going to, I'm not sure that it's the courts that will end up deciding this. They may.
Well, they did for the colleges, right? I mean,
they did.
That's what I mean is the colleges, it was illegal. I think they're going to make it also illegal for companies to discriminate based on age, sex, any of that stuff. The race, just politics. They're not supposed to, but with DEI, there's a certain list that they can discriminate on. I think they're going to take that away from them.
They will. Okay. That I agree with. However, I don't think that changes the culture war that we're in. I mean, you can outlaw DEI, and these companies are still going to produce these DEI initiatives, these public-facing ones, will still continue to be the same. The end of DEI is likely going to happen because of, and it's not because of the Trump administration, it's irregardless of him. We have seen this long before Trump. I mean, Trump only won 3 weeks ago today. I mean, it's not like, let's not pretend like that this happened months ago. You saw DEI on the fritz well before this. And Brian, what we've talked in the past.
That's why I said Inside Out 2. That's why I mentioned that, because this came out a while ago, which means they had to have last year or way before been thinking about, man, we got to cut back because something's coming. That's why I highlighted that, because it's been out for a while, but they had to have seen something was coming to where they needed to make a change long before this election.
But here's the thing.
I don't think it's a surprise to everybody.
I disagree with you on the reason they did it. I don't think it has anything to do with the election. I think the election. No, I think the election is the symptom. The reality is DEI has been on the fritz because it's generally very unpopular. The way and you're gonna say some idiot liberal will say, oh, you believe diversity, equity, and inclusion is unpopular? No, I think those things are things that we all strive for in every facet of our lives, day in and day out. However, like everything else the left touches, they have taken the term and completely morphed the definition and what it's supposed to do. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is not diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's, I'm right, you need to shut the hell up, you're a fascist, you're a Nazi, you're a racist. That's the late game form of DEI where we stand right now. The reality is that is very unpopular, and I don't think it had anything to do with the election. Happened because of it. Disney did not decide to do this on Inside Out 2 because they thought Trump was going to win in November. They did it on Inside Out 2 because it's very unpopular, and people are finally doing, Brian, what you and I have talked about for 9 years. By the way, this is episode 499 of this show. They have taken their wallets, their pocketbooks, and they've said, screw this, we're going elsewhere. That's why these companies are doing it. It is money. It's finally hit it is past a critical point where it is no longer little hints and things here and there. It is full blown, it is in your face, and it turns out a vast majority of the American populace wants nothing to do with it. That is why you're seeing this change. So that's why I'm saying I don't think Trump or the Trump administration is killing DEI. DEI killed themselves. It will accelerate. It will help having the bully pulpit, which Trump and his folks will have to maybe rapidly more quickly allow that to happen. But this was happening anyway. If Kamala Harris had won 3 weeks ago, DEI was still done because it's not popular. I mean, it's just not. Well, you've seen the boycotts. All of these examples that you mentioned, all of these things happened way before the election because there was mass outrage.
But the problem is the government, least the Biden administration, was really forcing a fake DEI, though. And like, I don't agree with DEI. First of all, they say equity. They don't see equality. If it were diversity, equality, and inclusion, I would agree with that. If everybody, because the difference between equity and equality is that equality means, and they give examples, when, like the box example, watching the baseball game over the fence, or a ladder, right? Give everybody the same ladder so they have the same opportunity. If people want to make more or less opportunity for themselves, they can do that. But everyone should be given the same opportunity to exceed. There are exceptions to that. People with special needs, right? We go to Disney World. They have special lines that people with special needs can get to the front. I totally agree with that. That's not equality, right? That is a form of equity, but that's a form of equity for a person who does not have the ability to take care of themselves. Not because they have a drug problem. It's not because they've made poor choices in their life. Some of them, they were born that way, and it's not something that they can change, right? And that's where I see the difference. I would rather have it to where we all have a box, and for people that we feel need to have a hand up, there's a lot of resources that used to be available that have kind of gone away because the government now takes care of everybody. But churches, public organizations used to take care of people and help fill in the missing gap for this equality. If you gave people the opportunity to own a home, sometimes poor choices prevent them from getting that. That doesn't mean you falsely force them up into a situation where they then get the home, right? I just think that is an issue. You need to not force everything. And, they like to say, look, with equality, the person in the wheelchair doesn't. Okay, well, make it to where people that, like children, they get special protections that adults don't. People with those medical problems get special protections. Those are acceptable. But to a person who's able-bodied, who has had as much opportunity as I have in life, why should they be treated that much differently than me? Why should they be given a leg up and I'm told I can't have a leg up in any way? That's what I don't get with this whole DEI thing.
And you are expressing what the vast majority of the American populace feels. It's why things when California announces they're going to give $250,000 to illegal immigrants to purchase homes. The people of California, which by the way, everybody goes, oh, blue state, very similar to New York, liberal hotbeds. The rest of the state is pretty red. That showed up in this election cycle. People absolutely despised that being the case. And so anybody that is, of course, going to spend the next couple of years talking about how DEI is gone and it's Republicans and Trump and MAGA and right-wing extremists. It's everybody's fault. This group has unequivocally, without a doubt, done this to themselves. They have taken something that on face value everybody agrees with. Mm-hmm. And what they have done is overextended themselves, turned it into a political bargaining chip. They've slid the Overton window way too far, and it got realigned. And by the way, it didn't get realigned to the right. It just got realigned to the center. I mean, that's what happened here. I mean, the fallacy of the Overton window is that the window was way over to the left, and it's now in the middle, maybe a little center right, but it's very much in the middle. Now, if you're all the way on the left, you see that as a huge swing to the right, but it's not. It's simply in a
but those of us are just
kind
of seeing it get back to normal, right? I mean,
that's what I'm saying. It's
a little bit of sanity.
And I mean, you mentioned it with this Disney show with the trans athlete thing.
Yeah, Inside Out too. Oh wait, yeah, the other one, yeah.
Brian, if you that is in politics, I spend a lot of time in that realm. That is what we call an 80-20 issue. 80% of people plus do not believe it is appropriate for a man to play, and specifically when you're talking about younger individuals, elementary school, middle school, high school, and college. Now, college starts getting a little bit different, but through grade school, 80+% of people do not believe it is appropriate for a male to play with women, unless it's a co-ed, unless it's something that is designated co-ed.
Yeah.
That's an 80-20 issue. But if you only were in the sphere of all of the talking points from the left on this issue, you would believe that everybody is in favor of allowing Jimmy, who's now Jasmine, to play on the girl volleyball team.
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, the reality does not reflect that that's the case. And this election showed that. But this was this ball has been rolling down the hill for many a years now. I mean, you saw the backlash with Riley Gaines. You've seen over the last couple of years how many high schools and colleges have said, yeah, we're canceling this match. You have a dude on your female lacrosse or field hockey team.
We're not playing. In Idaho, when the Idaho colleges just did that, and they joined the lawsuit against it. Yeah, so I mean, they're taking a stand. Our state is.
Yeah, and that this stuff has been going on because it's not popular. These are not issues that are winning issues, even though the echo chamber would have you believe that they are. So they've done this to themselves, and I'm glad. And I hope Trump does accelerate the end of all this BS, because that's what needs to happen. Yeah, it needs to go away, and he will. He absolutely will accelerate. There's no question.
Well, and I think the way that he's handling it, like he handled the Roe versus Wade issue, I think taking it back to the states will be the smartest way, because if he tried to force anything on all of the states,
no, we don't want that.
He would get so much backlash. And if you're doing that kind of control, the second that someone else comes into power, they're constantly swinging that power back and forth. Yep. So instead, turning it back to the states, like he did with abortion, you can't say he outlawed abortion. He didn't outlaw abortion at all. He turned around and said, let's make the states allow or disallow abortion by their choosing. And that's what they did. And I think that the same thing he's going to keep doing over and over again with these different issues, so that he can truly let places like California and New York and these places that really are kind of living off of some of the government subsidies right now, and the government taxes from all these other states that are doing well, they're consuming them.
Yep.
Right. And I think that they're going to allow their own state, with their own poor decisions that they've created for themselves, finally eat the own state alive. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm seeing. I think that he's just going to allow the states to eat themselves alive. And then afterwards be like, okay, well, are you guys willing for change? These other states are doing great. Are you guys ready for some change? Because obviously they've been in charge of their own decisions and are doing really well. When you guys are in charge of your own decisions, you do really poorly. I feel like that's just how we talk to our kids. What needs to change? Their decisions never seems to come to mind when you're asking them what they need to change, right?
Sure, because they're children.
They're children, but this is California. They should have the ability to not make the same type of decisions as children and make some big boy decisions and realize you're going to destroy your own state. You've run out a huge amount of your companies. I mean, you've got Elon Musk who left for Texas, all these big companies leaving for Texas just because you can't do business in California anymore. Well, good. Let it crash and burn.
Yep.
I don't want to see people hurt, but let the things crash and burn there enough to where they see the pain and they realize this is not how government works. You can't run like this. You guys have been falsely propped up by all the other states who refuse to do what you're doing, yet you want to borrow our electricity. You want to have all of our resources. You guys have huge shortfalls in your spending or your ability to spend. And so you want federal funds to come in and save you from that. Why? We didn't make any of those decisions, and we've told you we didn't think you should make those decisions. Why should we turn around and let you negatively affect us so much? And I'm hoping that that's the mindset that people start to see, because what are they going to do? Ask the other states for handouts? I mean, have the other states say, well, then change some of your policies. I mean, whenever other states did decisions they didn't like, they would sit there and blacklist those states and say that they weren't allowed to do any kind of commerce, or their employees weren't allowed to travel to those states for any, public meetings or anything like that. It's pretty silly, but I'm hoping that with the changes, that it's enough of a hurt to where we truly see a change that's done for the right reasons from those locations. Not, because how else are you going to get them to change other than rock bottom? And what's rock bottom for them? It's been pretty, look at their streets. that's not rock bottom. How bad is it going to get before they finally turn around and say, all right, let's do something a little bit different. I figured it would be this election, maybe, the numbers did swing, but still, there's a lot of people still willing to vote for a Democrat in California.
Sure. And that's never going to change. And it truly won't. The course correction happens naturally. It's often hard to wrap your head around this, but politics is like a pendulum. It swings back and forth. It's always swung back and forth. As long as we can, as our founding father said, as long as we can hold on to it and protect it, it will continue to swing back and forth. And I'm glad to see that a lot of this stuff was already in the works, and some of this stuff was starting to crumble at the seams well before this election took place, and it will only continue to do so. And it's good, and we'll get back to some semblance of reality, some semblance of normalcy because of that, which is a good thing, because things are out of control. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I was going to.
I was going to mention one more thing that's kind of is moving on a little bit. But Elon Musk, he made a post where he was talking about, nobody gets to trash Gygax and the geniuses who created Dungeons and Dragons. So they put out a new thing for Dungeons and Dragons where it pretty much went and said negative things about the creators of the original Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, they've been off the reservation for a couple of years now.
Oh, yeah. And so now you've got a lot of people starting to push back against that whole thing because they don't want you disrespecting. I mean, they wrote it into the rule book, and it was totally disrespectful to the original creators.
Sure.
It's like those things get printed and they're permanent. And so like those things are becoming less acceptable because people are like, these people didn't do anything wrong. They weren't writing things that were incredibly hurtful towards people purposefully. They weren't writing blatantly racist.
I mean, let me just read it. I mean, it's simple. This is in a new rule book, I guess.
Yes, this is the new one.
Some language in the first iteration of D&D presents a moral quandary, Brian. The documents reproduced in this book include many pages of charts and tables alongside lists of monsters, spells, and magic items, but the game content also includes a virtual catalog of insensitive and derogatory language, words that are casually harmful to anyone with a physical or mental disability, or who happens to be old, fat, conventionally attractive, indigenous, black, or a woman. Some people have ascribed.
Who did they leave out there?
Some people have ascribed this language to the authors working from a bad assumption in the 1970s. Historical war games in America were predominantly white, middle-class men, and it isn't surprising that they would dub a class of soldiers the fighting man. But when in the pages of Greyhawk, is that a book? Or is that the rules? The description of blah, blah, blah. It's unfortunate the fact that women seldom appear in the original D&D, and when they do, they're usually portrayed as disrespectful. Slavery appears in the original D&D. The cultural appropriation of original D&D ranges from belittling, like naming every 6th-level Selric a llama, to staggering gods, demigods, and
heroes.
Does that say heroes? Yeah, I guess it does say heroes. Not reprinted in this book. Includes game statistics for sacred figures revered by more than 1 billion people around the world, or players expecting to fly, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, the D&D is now, D&D is the tip of the spear for this woke nonsense. Yeah. I mean, if you looked at some of the recent packs that they've come out with, and some of the characters in D&D, and by the way, Magic the Gathering is doing the same thing. It's just it's absurd. It's like Cards Against Humanity. I mean, I love it. Do you have an original version of Cards Against Humanity?
I think so. I mean, I'd have to look. I assume.
So you've played the original version of Cards Against Humanity. There is some of the most what would be described as hateful, bigoted, misogynistic, racist, ageist, classist shit that you could imagine in the original version of Cards Against Humanity. And if you go back now, you can look at all of the cards that they no longer produce in their base pack because they have to out-liberal themselves. Why was the original Cards Against Humanity so popular? Because, Brian, it was freaking hilarious. And everybody loved it. But not even that it was edgy. It was just funny. I mean, it was hilarious. It's a fun game. And now they've disowned themselves. This isn't D&D from the 70s. Cards Against Humanity came out like 15 years ago. I mean, it's not that long ago. Yep. So, I mean, all of these groups are just, they're pathetic. And I am genuinely hopeful that people will continue to, the only way this changes is with your wallet. Yeah. Yep. It's the only way.
And I think that that's what's starting to happen. I think we're finally starting to see those changes happen to where look at MSNBC, CNN, the lowest numbers now to where they're barely operating. They're talking about NBC being purchased, supposedly Elon's talking about whatever.
So this is an issue that the right is blowing out of proportion.
Yeah.
Cable companies and television is a losing business. And Comcast is spinning off properties with low viewership. And yes, of course, you can make the argument it's because of all of their things, so on and so forth. The media industry is, in general, a really tough business. I think it's disingenuous, especially for media people to talk about that as like, oh, they're getting sold off. By the way, Elon Musk would be a complete, and I know the left said this about Twitter. Elon Musk would be a moron to purchase MSNBC. There is no money to be made in cable news unless you're Fox.
That's true.
There's just no. It is too high margin. Unlike what he did over at X, you're not going to be able to go into a place like MSNBC and cut out 75% of the workforce. It's a very time-consuming, very human, person-demanding, time-demanding industry. That's why it's struggling because it's so expensive to operate.
Well, and he views, because that's one thing he's been really pushing lately, is to be pretty much a news reporter, all you really need is an internet connection, a phone, and an X account. Because look at all the people that now are just tweeting news as it's happening, maybe on site, on location, and they're getting a ton of views, and he's created a monetization system that works for that type of news.
Yeah.
To where if you have, because this is what I remember, what really pulled me into Twitter back in the earlier days was that I could get news before it hit the news.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could see things happening. I could get on there, and it's like, oh, this is happening in real time. The news hadn't picked up on it yet. It hadn't been reported on anywhere yet, but you could go and find that information and see it popping up, especially political things. 2016, watching the election happen even on there, and just seeing the numbers rolling in real time instead of sitting on a single page and just hitting refresh, right? I just think it's a lot different now. So I think there are shows on X that have totally adopted that type of a mentality with their shows. They're more lightweight. They have just a lot of people with lightweight devices going out on site and creating little videos, and it's getting traction, right? I think that's going to be the new way, and not places where they're sitting in a studio in New York, especially with all these expensive things, doing something with people $20-something million salaries, where they're not even really thinking when they're doing their job. I mean, it's obvious with some of them.
And that's why I hope he doesn't purchase MSNBC, because I can tell you the future is not cable news.
Yeah. And
it's not radio either. It's social. It's podcast. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago. What did we learn out of this election cycle more than anything else? The rise of what we'll call new media, whether that be YouTube, podcasting, videos on X, videos on Facebook and Instagram. That is what we saw. We had candidates like Trump that were leaning more heavily on these kinds of platforms.
Yeah.
And I think in the end it paid off for him. And that's only, this is 2024. Can you imagine what that's going to look like 4 years from now with the expansion of this stuff?
Yep.
I mean, Joe Rogan was popular 4 years ago. He's stupidly popular now. And in the same week, he had Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and JD Vance on his show.
Yep.
I mean, any cable news executive would give their left testicle, may give both, their left and their right, Brian, to get those guys on in the same week. Impossible.
Yep.
Yet Joe Rogan can sit down with all of them, by the way, for 3 hours. Nine. You'd be lucky to get an 8-minute hit with one of those guys on cable news. Joe Rogan got 9 hours combined with those guys. That's insane.
And it's crazy that that's one of the major things that really killed Kamala's whole plan. Because if she would have gone on that and done well, people would have then had a lot of confidence. They would have been able to say, look, she went up there and nailed 3 hours, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Could have helped.
That would have been a huge thing to say, hey, whatever happened in those past ones, look, she went on there, held her own. She's definitely capable of holding up against men in politics. Instead, she kept on asking for special favors. She was asking for equity or versus equality? She was asking for equity, not equality. What he offered her was equality. You can come in here and you can have the exact same that I'm offering the rest of them. She couldn't handle that. I mean, look at what she did with that studio, with that female podcast, where $200,000. It was a huge amount of money worth of studio they built.
Yeah.
For one episode, because she didn't want to fly there.
Yep.
But poor decisions. But those are the things that brought to attention in people's minds. Like, oh, well, that's kind of how she runs the economy, right? I mean, it's just throwing money like it doesn't matter for a goal. Well, look at how much that came back to bite her in the end. Yeah. Like that works in politics. You can fake things for a while, but look, the bill came due for her, and now she's sitting there, and she doesn't have any magic to pull together that's $20 million or whatever. Who knows what's going to happen in the end with all that? Yeah. But that's it. Did you see that? There's another article where in Forbes, and I only want to mention this, just in time for Trump, game industry M&A and investments are reviving. So
yeah, I'm shocked. Now, this absolutely has everything to do with Trump being elected, because I've talked about this ad nauseum over the last couple of months. If you were a company trying to do a major merger or acquisition, which is what an M&A is, you would be out of your freaking mind. Because, I mean, we've got a story in here today. The FTC is still challenging the Microsoft Activision Blizzard merger. It's been done for a year now. And they're still arguing it in court.
I figured we could mention that.
Yeah, let's ignore the Forbes article. I mean, this is insane. This is an article published November the 21st. 5 days ago. FTC challenges Microsoft's Activision Blizzard merger in new appeals court filing.
They're not wanting to give it up. They don't like the fact that they lost.
No, and so if they're filing this in the U.S. Circuit of Appeals, the 9th District of San Francisco, where they'll probably get in front of a good judge, this will probably end up at the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and this will be interesting because I think
actually no, it won't, because I guess
once it reaches there,
I guess when a new FTC is in there, I don't know if once you file something, if they're able to withdraw it or retract it once that kind of legal proceeding. I'm not sure how that's going to work. So the new FTC could kill this if they wanted to. Maybe they don't. Who knows? But my guess is that they probably do, because you're literally challenging something that every court across the nation, or across the world, excuse me, not the nation. Every court across the world has said, yeah, I mean, there's a couple of issues here, but for the most part, it's pretty above board, except in the U.S. with Lena Khan and the FTC.
And that's one thing. I saw Reuters. They wrote an article that said the long road to replacing Lena Khan at the FTC.
Oh,
what are you talking about, a long road? I think this is going to be a really short road of replacing her, because, I mean, she's done so much damage. She's not doing any of the thing. I don't know if was there limits to being able to replace her, to exchange her. So her term expired in September. She can stay on as commissioner until a replacement is confirmed, though she will likely be replaced as chair soon after Trump takes office. So I don't know why they're calling it a long road. This is going to be, a month and a half away. That she should be being out of there. I think that you're going to see a huge amount of investment. There's been a huge incentive to not invest for 4 years now. Huge incentive to not invest. And I think now that we're going to see this whole space, and are they going to blame it on, are they going to give credit to Biden? Because I saw Charlie Kirkwood doing an interview at a school, and he was sitting there talking to this kid, and this kid was just saying, well, all the positive things that came out of Trump was from Obama, and all the all the negative things that Biden's having been to deal with is because of, because it takes 4 years for the effects of being a president to fall into place. And it's like,
always,
it's like, so it's always going to be your excuse. The reason that things never work by the end of your president's term is because he's finally just getting everything caught up from the previous president. It's like, so what are they going to say that finally Biden's stuff all, but is this, they're going to try to say Biden, it's all this investment and all this positive stuff happening in the gaming industry is all because of what Biden did. They can't figure out what that is, but it's got to be because of something he did.
They will,
something because Trump wasn't in office, and that's going to be their excuse. This has happened every time. Every time Trump's about, if there's a bunch of hope for Trump, people start investing again. The market starts going up. It happened this, after the election here 3 weeks ago. Things started to improve. So it's just going to be interesting to see how they can try to spin this and continue to make it somehow Trump's fault. Even when things are going great, it's not because of Trump. It's because of still bad Trump, good Biden, and they're never going to let it go.
Yep, it's we are heading into interesting times. All right, Brian, where do folks find you on the old interwebs?
Well, if you want to find me on X, of course, you can go to @BoiseComputer. If you want to find me on all the other places, @BrianAldridge. Of course, you want to go to my blog, biteoftech.com. There's a way to contact me there. Or you can go to our website, infectionpodcast.com. Go to the upper right-hand side and join us on Discord. One thing I would encourage you to do is if there's a link or something that you think would be positive for the show, throw it in the show news channel there. You can also get a hold of Nick or I directly. We've got some 11 ARC servers running that you can jump into. If you want to watch the live show, you can do that through Twitch and YouTube. We are starting to we have been uploading for a while to Rumble. I would encourage you to go and follow us there if you don't, and maybe we'll see about getting more going there. If you want to listen, we have all the different things at the lower right-hand side for all the podcasts and different platforms you can listen to us on. If you are listening to us, that means that the episode's already been released. So there's show notes for that particular episode all ready to go with a video and audio player built right into that page, and then links for everything we discussed right through that episode. So maybe if you're listening and you want to follow along with videos or follow along with the articles, it's the perfect place to do that. If you want to support us, you can do that through the support menu option up top, or you can go to infectionpodcast.com/support.
Brian, my friend, thank you very much. Hopefully you have a nice Thanksgiving, and
you too.
We'll have our big 500th episode in the next. I don't know if it'll be next week. I've got some travel plans, but in the next couple of weeks. So looking forward to that. I'll put a quick note out there. If you're playing Call of Duty, send me a message on Discord. I have been grinding away. Doing my thing at Call of Duty, having a great time with it. Got to play with our good friend UGX Vibe, a couple of other friends, Subdivision, Melmo. Got an opportunity to play with them a couple of times this weekend. So if you're playing that, shoot me a message on Discord so we can get connected on the old Call of Duty. Brian, have a happy Thanksgiving. We'll chat soon.
Too. See you later.
Alrighty, folks, you can keep up to date with me on X. I'm approaching 2,000 followers, which is, I guess, a pretty big deal on X. So give me a follow over there at Nicholas M. Craig, or, of course, you can visit my website, nickcraig.com, hopefully to have some exciting new announcements coming forward here in the new year. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for another episode of Infection Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great Thanksgiving. We'll be back next time. Talk to you soon.